Kurt Vonnegut was born on the 11th of November, 1922, in Indianapolis, Indiana, to a family of German descent. His father, Kurt Senior, was an architect, and his mother, Edith, came from a wealthy brewery family. However, the family's fortune was deeply affected by the Great Depression, which cast a shadow over Vonnegut's early years. His mother became increasingly depressed and distant, which later impacted his own outlook on life and his writing. Vonnegut attended Shortridge High School in Indianapolis, where he worked on the school's daily newspaper, developing an early love for writing and journalism. In 1940, he enrolled at Cornell University, where he studied biochemistry and wrote for the Cornell Daily Sun. His studies were interrupted by World War II when, in 1943, he enlisted in the U.S. Army. Vonnegut's military experience had a profound effect on his worldview and his work. During the war, Vonnegut was captured by German forces during the Battle of the Bulge and was taken as a prisoner of war to Dresden, Germany. While imprisoned, he survived the Allied bombing of Dresden in February 1945, a catastrophic event that killed tens of thousands of civilians. This experience was pivotal for Vonnegut, and it became the foundation for his most famous novel, Slaughterhouse-Five, 1965, in which the bombing of Dresden serves as a central, surreal backdrop. Vonnegut's portrayal of war in Slaughterhouse-Five is characterized by a dark, satirical tone that blends science fiction with autobiography. The novel is an anti-war masterpiece, famous for its use of time travel and its exploration of fatalism. After the war, Vonnegut returned to the U.S. and married Jane Cox, with whom he would have 3 children. He briefly studied anthropology at the University of Chicago, but his thesis was rejected. However, he eventually earned a master's degree in anthropology when the university accepted his novel Cat's Cradle, 1963, as his thesis. He worked a series of odd jobs, including as a public relations writer for General Electric, while trying to make a career as a novelist. Vonnegut's early novels were a mix of science fiction and social commentary. His first, Player Piano, 1952, depicts a dystopian future where machines have replaced human labor, drawing heavily on his experience at General Electric. This theme of technology, dehumanization, and corporate power runs through much of Vonnegut's work. The Sirens of Titan, 1959, and Cat's Cradle, 1963 followed, both showcasing his signature style of dark humor, philosophical musing, and biting satire. Cat's Cradle, in particular, introduced Vonnegut's famous concept of ice, a fictional substance capable of freezing the entire planet. Vonnegut's reputation grew steadily throughout the 1960s, but it was Slaughterhouse-Five that catapulted him to literary fame. Published during the height of the Vietnam War, the novel resonated with a generation questioning authority, morality, and the nature of war. Its structure, which jumps between different periods of time and space, was groundbreaking for its narrative style. The book's refrain, "So it goes after every mention of death," encapsulates Vonnegut's resigned, ironic take on the absurdity of human existence. Throughout the 1970s and 1980s, Vonnegut published several other novels, including Breakfast of Champions, 1973, Slapstick, 1976, and Jailbird, 1979. Though none achieved the same level of fame as Slaughterhouse-Five, they continue to explore themes of humanism, technology, and the randomness of life. Vonnegut's style, blending humor with bleak outlooks, earned him a devoted following. His works often featured recurring characters, such as Kilgore Trout, a fictional science fiction writer who appears in several of Vonnegut's novels as a kind of alter ego. Vonnegut's personal life was complicated. He and his wife Jane eventually divorced, and he later married photographer Jill Crements. He adopted his sister's 3 children after her death in 1958, and had a total of 7 children to raise. These familial struggles, along with his increasing frustration with society's direction, added a darker tone to his later works. Vonnegut remained an outspoken critic of war, technology, and political corruption throughout his life, often giving lectures and writing essays that reflected his pessimistic yet hopeful view of humanity. He identified as a humanist and was deeply influenced by his belief in the potential for kindness and decency, despite his often dark outlook on the world. In his later years, Vonnegut became a cultural icon, known as much for his acerbic wit in interviews and essays as for his fiction. His final novel, Timequake, 1997, is a meditation on fate and free will, blending autobiography with fiction. After its release, Vonnegut largely retired from novel writing, but continued to write essays and short stories. Kurt Vonnegut passed away on the 11th of April, 2011, at the age of 84, after suffering brain injuries from a fall. His legacy as one of America's greatest satirists and social critics endures. His ability to combine science fiction, dark humor, and humanism to explore existential questions and critique societal norms has left a lasting impact on literature and popular culture. He remains celebrated for his sharp wit, his compassion for humanity, and his ability to tackle some of the most difficult questions about life, war, and morality in a way that is both deeply profound and entertaining.